morning. My name is Sandra Mullins with the Division of Highways. Welcome to the Vanhooris Road Improvement Project virtual public meeting. This project is part of the Governor Justice Roads of Prosperity program. The DOH would like to thank our partners, the City of Morgantown, Monongalia County, Morgantown Monongalia Metropolitan Planning Organization, and the Federal Highway Administration. This evening, we will have live presentations at 5, 6, and 7 p.m. Some ground rules for tonight's meeting are as follows. The West Virginia Department of Transportation recognizes the value of public comments on their projects and community issues in the areas surrounding those projects. To permit the fair and orderly expression of such comments, a period of public participation will be provided during public meetings, and rules to govern such participation will be provided. The moderator of the meeting shall administer the rules of public participation. These guidelines are discussed below. Please take a moment to reaching for the This meeting will be recorded. At the beginning of the meeting, all attendees will be muted and remain muted. After the presentation has concluded, there will be a question and answer period. Please submit comments and questions by one of the following methods. Use the chat window to type your question or comment, text your comment or question, or call 855-925-2801 and use the code 9356. Note, all comments carry equal weight, no matter how they are submitted. Please keep comments relevant to the project in which the meeting is being held. Please keep comments, concerns as specific as possible. West Virginia DOT and or their associate representatives will respond to each comment. However, we reserve the right to respond to questions in writing following the meeting if there is either not adequate time to answer or if information must be gathered to adequately respond. Once all comments, questions have been presented, the moderator will ask if anyone else has any comments or questions. If desired, you may follow up on verbal comments in writing. This is not a requirement and will not provide the verbal comments additional weight. Conduct. Participants must be respectful and considerate of the opinions of others. Participants must be considerate of the time allowed for others to speak. Demeaning, derogatory, inflammatory, or vulgar language or actions will not be permitted. Persons attending the meeting who are hearing or visually impaired have special requirements or a condition that requires special assistance or accommodations should contact one of the meeting coordinators as soon as possible. Advance notice is necessary for us to make arrangements to accommodate these special needs. As you see on the screen, these are the different ways to leave a comment. Online, through our live event tonight, or you can also mail in your comments. The comment period ends September 10th, 2020. We will start tonight with Tim Kirk and Brian Bernstein of A&T Engineering on the project limits and details.
Thank you, Sandra. Appreciate everyone's time this evening. We look forward to giving you an overview of the Vanhooris Road Improvement Project from Route 705 to south of West Run Road. So the purpose of this project is to improve the infrastructure Again, the purpose of this project is to improve the infrastructure on Vanhooris Road from Route 705 to south of West Run Road. This road is prone to recurring traffic congestion. There are narrow lanes, deficient roadway geometry in locations, and limited pedestrian accommodation in certain locations. and also limited roadway drainage. So as noted, the project limits are from Route 705 to south of West Run Road. The improvements shown in this plan this evening were developed from a design study that occurred from Route 705 to Baker's Ridge. This is section 1 of those improvements. The study predominantly identified intersection and geometric improvements as part of this plan. There are significant challenges and obstacles within this section, including steep terrain, roadside development very near the roadway, lots of utilities, and a heavy traffic volume. In the development of these plans, the Division of Highways was very sensitive to the impacts of proposed improvements, so the plan has been developed with that in mind. So the specific improvements include Route 705 intersection improvements and widening of Vanhooris Road, extension of the existing sidewalk to Southview Drive and replacement of the existing sidewalk. Improvement of side streets, including Southview Drive and Clearview Avenue to improve the vertical approach. A significant improvement of the roadway geometry at Wedgewood Drive and Hirschman Village intersection. We've added retaining walls in certain locations to minimize our impact to the environment, to add paved shoulders and wider lanes throughout the project. And it also includes replacement of the bridge at West Run Road. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brian to speak to you about the environmental review for this project.
Thanks, Tim. As part of this roadway project, West Virginia Division of Highways analyzes the potential effects the project may have on natural, cultural, and socioeconomic, or sometimes referred to as community resources. A report referred to as a category exclusion conducted as required under the National Environmental Policy Act, or sometimes referred to as NEPA. The category exclusion for this project is conducted because it currently has typical minimal effects overall. The resources listed below here are many of the natural, cultural, and socioeconomic resources considered as part of this project. Any effects considered as part of this project will be considered as part of the design as well. I will highlight a few of the examples of the natural, cultural resource and socioeconomic resources. Wetlands and rare, threatened, and endangered species are an example of natural resources. Historic buildings, the potential for historic buildings or archaeological resources are examples of cultural resources. And socioeconomic resources would be things such as communities, as well as residential or commercial displacements. The graphic here is from our study and shows on the middle column no-build alternative that is nothing proposed. Certainly there are no proposed impacts or effects. But we do have a couple minimal impacts under the build alternative, such as residential commercial displacements, which Tim will talk about in just a minute or two. And we also have some minimal wetland and stream encroachments. You can see towards the bottom of this graphic also some of the projected project costs. With that, I'll turn it back to Tim.
Thank you, Brian. So I'd like to talk about some of the specific improvements that are proposed within this plan. We are proposing to widen the Vanhooris Road southbound approach to Route 705 by an additional through lane from Killarney Drive to Route 705. This is intended to increase the intersection capacity and reduce the recurring congestion that was noted. We're also proposing significant pedestrian improvements at the intersection, including a larger refuge island and relocated pedestrian crossings, along with traffic signal improvements at the intersection. Here you see an aerial image of the proposed intersection improvement. As I mentioned, there's a larger pedestrian refuge island, and the pedestrian crossing, of course, is relocated to that to reduce the crossing and provide a place for pedestrians to wait to cross the street. Also, Route 705 eastbound traffic turning right will be using the right lane exclusively in this plan, with the center lane on Route 705 being a through lane to Vanhooris Road. Our traffic analysis shows that this results in an improvement to level of service, along with the significant enhancement to pedestrian crossing. So as noted, accommodation of pedestrians is an important part of this project. Along with the changes at Route 705, proposed extension of the sidewalk to Southview Drive is proposed. And there where the road gets steeper, we are proposing to add paved shoulders of 4 to 5 foot width throughout to accommodate both cyclists, pedestrians, and also to reduce the occurrence of run off the road crashes. Throughout this project, drainage improvements are proposed for the length of the project. Additional inlets are being added to collect the runoff from the roadway, from the travel lanes. We're also proposed to close and pipe some of these eroded ditches that you see. The photo on top shows an existing ditch on Vanhooris. The photo below shows a treatment from a similar project as an example of what we might, or what we're proposing in this project. We'll also armor some of the ditches with rock so they are less erodible going forward. As noted, several of the side street approaches to Vanhooris Road are very steep. Motorists drag when making a turn to enter Vanhooris Road. We will improve the roadway approaches by reducing the severe slopes on those approaches at Southview Drive and also at Clearview Avenue. So the same treatment for both. As noted, there's a very sharp curve at the top of the hill at Wedgwood Drive. It's a steep vertical in combination with the steep horizontal curve, and there's a pattern of rear end crashes for motorists turning left onto Wedgwood Drive. All these factors combined with a narrow roadway leads to limited sight distance, both on Vanhooris Road and for motorists trying to enter the road. So with that, we are proposing a pretty significant roadway improvement project to relocate the curve, reduce the vertical grade of the roadway, and improve the side streets approaches to Vanhooris Road. What you're seeing here is the plan sheet for those improvements, but what it will look like in reality is shown in this rendering. This rendering incorporates the horizontal radius improvement, the reduced grade, the added turn lane to Wedgwood, the wider lanes, and the paved shoulders. It also includes of each approach to the roadway. This is a rendering showing what the paved shoulders would look like coming out of the curve improvement from Hirschman Village looking towards Morgantown Rehab. So again, those paved shoulders are added 4 to 5 feet in width throughout the project to accommodate additional road users and improve the safety of the corridor. Near the northern terminus of the project, there's an existing bridge over West Run. It's very low in elevation and is flood prone. It's also very narrow. So what is proposed at this location is a new long-term durable bridge that will be wider at a higher elevation to reduce the occurrence of being overtopped, a bridge that provides those safer paved shoulders and also is wide enough for a future 3-lane alignment when that is needed in this location. So in order to implement all of these improvements, right-of-way will be needed for the project. A number of temporary construction easements will be needed, as totaled there in the slide. Also, some property along the roadway will be needed to implement the improvements. That's land acquisition. And then also there is one location where one residence is in the path of the plans and would need to be relocated. The Division of Highways follows the Federal Uniform Act in developing these improvements. The plans are available for review. If anyone has any specific questions, plans are available from the website for this presentation or through the Division of Highways. And with that, I will turn it back over to Sandra.
Thanks, Tim and Brian, for your presentation on the project. Right now, these are your ways to comment. Comment period is open until September the 10th. Remember, you can comment voicemail, text, online, or by mail. And right now at this time, we will take any questions that you may have. First question up is Marcus. Looking at the intersection into Advantage Health and Wellness, how do you plan to effectively prohibit traffic from turning into that building. Having used this road in the past, I have been stuck in the middle of the intersection of Vanhooris and Chestnut Ridge waiting for a car to turn left many times. Could you place delineation devices from the beginning of the project to the intersection with the driveway being behind BB&T? Ross, would you like to answer that question? Vanhooris Road, and we're talking about the Advantage Health Wellness. Could you place delineation devices from the beginning of the project to the intersection with the driveway behind BB&T?
Can review that with the Division of Highways to see if they want to entertain some driveway channelization or access management through that area. So we'll evaluate that further as a team.
As the plans develop. Okay. Next question is, how is this project being funded? Well, as we said at the beginning, this is part of the Governor Justice Road Prosperity Program, and it's part of the Go Bond program. Next question from Bill Austin from the MPO. Please indicate on a map the length of the new sidewalk and the site of the relocation. Thanks.
We can make sure that's included in the final environmental document.
Okay. All right. Next question. What happens to the ingress for Advantage Health and Wellness? Okay, back to our question at hand. It's what happens to the ingress at Advantage Health and Wellness?
It's proposed that the driveway be relocated away from the intersection to improve traffic operation. That's still being evaluated, and we're still looking at all of the access points for the final plan.
Okay. The next question comes in from Rusty Russell. The sidewalk needs to be extended to at least down to West Run due to the students walking to and from the apartments at West Run area.
Yes. Okay, thank you. We'll look into that, but please keep in mind that with ADA requirements, we have limitation, what kind of grades we can do with the sidewalk and so forth. And if we start looking at flattening the grades of the sidewalks to accommodate ADA, that means we would have to not follow the grade of the road, we would have to deviate from the grade of the road. That will result in additional impact, additional displacement. And at this time, that's really not part of the scope of the project. But we will evaluate your comment during plan development and see what else we can do to accommodate the pedestrians.
All right, our next question that comes in is from Leonard George. And will you be taking the bank property?
No, there are no current plans to take the BB&T property.
And while we're reading the comments, you can actually click on the website on the second tab. There is maps, and there's also a storyboard on there. We also have video links to drone footage if you would actually like to see the drone footage from the beginning of the project to the end of the project. Okay, the next question comes from Marcus. Have you considered frontage roads along the left side of the road to deal with the driveways and controlled access?
We did look at those driveways to see if there was any shared approaches we could create, but due to the density of development and the lack of controlled access right away, it's really not feasible to add a frontage or a collector road.
Next question, and if you hear a pause in between the questions, we are just muting so we can read the question, that way we can provide you with an answer. Were dedicated right and left turn lanes along Vanhooris considered at the District Drive intersection? I have seen many collisions as people go up and down the hill.
Turn lanes were considered at various locations throughout the project, and again, it was a balance of impact versus need. So at Wedgewood Drive, for example, there was a pattern of rear-end crashes there, restricted sight distance, and a heavy left turn volume. So we looked at volume and crash data and making those determinations. But there is no requirement to build turn lanes for private approaches.
Okay. For people who just, hold on, let me get a little closer here. For people who just joined and ask about maps, you can mention that there will be another presentation at 6. So stay online if you didn't catch the whole presentation, and the maps will be available for download at the right side of the page at the bottom. So Leonard, I knew that was your question that you had a couple times, that you couldn't see the maps. Another question that came in a little while ago is frequently traveled Vanhooris Road to Vanhooris Trailhead / landing to use the rail trail or kayak on the river. The sections of road between West Run Road and Baker's Ridge Road is in bad shape, especially along the edges. Will this be looked at for some drainage and shoulder improvements to enhance the safety of driving on this uphill section? Water runoff is continually eroding the edges.
Thank you. That's a good question, but it's not part of the scope of this project here. This is beyond the scope of the first project. It's been coordinated with the locals, with the MPO and everybody there. And the need that was presented to us is for this first section to be improved. As funding become available and we move forward, then other projects, other sections may be looked at and evaluated.
Okay, another question that came in. This is a 4-part question. Number 1, the original project that encompassed paving / improvements from West Virginia 705 to County Route 67/1 had plans for improved drainage, widening, resurfacing sidewalks, and a bike lane. This would have improved safety from vehicular traffic and made a vast improvement for pedestrian safety. Unfortunately, once the project was completed, no sidewalks or bike lanes were included. As more population moves into the northern end of Vanhooris, there is a marked increase in pedestrian traffic in this area. Will this project preserve existing sidewalks and include at least an extension of the sidewalks to County Route 67/1?
Are we muted?
So in the current plan, the sidewalk is renovated and extended to Southview Drive. Beyond that point, as Gerard noted, the roadway gets very steep and it's very difficult or impossible to accommodate a sidewalk and meet PROAG and ADA requirements. So from that point north, what is proposed is a wider paved shoulder to accommodate both pedestrians, cyclists, and other road users.
Okay. What properties will be impacted?
As noted, there are temporary construction easements throughout, and some property along the road will be taken for the improvement, along with one residence at the Wedgewood curve.
And what is the timeline of the design/engineering/construction? Construction date is on the very first slides. You have a sidebar that gives a timeline. And the construction date for it is June 28th of 2023.
Just say this is dependent on, everything we have to do.
And as noted, this is a tentative schedule. So things could change, design could, be halted, or, there could be several different things that happen. Number 4 question, where can the information regarding the project upgrades to 0.43 miles of Vanhooris Road, which is County Route 59 from the junction of Montague County 67/1 to junction of County Route 60 be found? All of the project information will be found on the website. And you can also scroll down at the bottom, and on the side there is a link to plans. On that question. At the 705 intersection, how are you going to get the extra lanes in the same space?
So with the widening on County Route 59, those are full width lanes, and there will be pavement markings to direct motorists to the appropriate.
Question is, will this ever connect to I-79?
The answer is, it's not part of the scope of this project. This project only goes from 705 to Western Road.
Next question. I appreciate all the thought has gone into making improvements to alleviate vehicular traffic congestion. In addition, the entire corridor is an important one for pedestrian traffic. 2 questions. Both sides of the road are heavily traveled by pedestrians that a path has been worn in the grass on both sides, most of the way through from Burris to Wedgewood and on the west side of the road from Wedgewood to West Rome. Will you consider building more sidewalks than what is proposed because the need and demand are so high in accordance with the state West Virginia Complete Streets Act? The second part of the question is ADA impacts are important, including the negative impact on individuals with disabilities that need pedestrian facilities along with the road segment. If the slope exceeds the max 5%, will a parallel path be considered?
Okay, these are all very good questions. We appreciate them. We recognize that the project scope may not fulfill all the needs that's out there, and it's never the case. We have limited budget for this project. The scope is well defined. We understand that. We understand that we would like to extend the sidewalk all the way to the river if we could, but that will require modification to the NEPA document. That would require additional right-of-way impacts. And again, this is really not part of this project. And as the questioner noted, well noted, that for us to meet ADA with these steep slopes, we would have to deviate from the horizontal and vertical alignment of the roadway. We would have to basically construct a sidewalk that's independent of the roadway, which again meets additional impacts and so forth. And with the state, we have the eminent domain for roadways. Now, when you start deviating and constructing sidewalks, now you are really uncharted territory, whether we can start condemning property just for the use of sidewalk. So for now, we are providing sidewalk wherever we can as part of the project scope. And beyond that, it would have to be evaluated in a separate, under a separate NEPA document with coordination of our partners mentioned earlier, namely the county, the city, and the MPO. And we recognize that this area is not part of the city of Morgantown, is not incorporated, and that makes it a little bit also a different challenge.
The next question is, the eliminating of real sidewalks on this road is death waiting to happen. Even a wide curbside runoff is dangerous.
No sidewalks are being eliminated, they're being extended, unless I misunderstood the question.
Next question is, what's the address of the one property that will be taken?
So the property that will be taken is part of the Wedgewood curve improvement, and it is the home at the corner of the intersection of Hirschman Village and Vanhooris Road across from Wedgewood Drive and Kenwood Drive.
Another question, what is the Okay, the next question is, here's a two-part from the same person. What is the greatest threat that could stop this project, and will there be any streetlights added?
Well, if the question is asking how this project would be stopped, right now the funding is there. We still have to clear the NEPA, and that's why when Sandra answered earlier about the schedule, I said it's all pending that the NEPA is clear, all the hurdles out of the way. We never say never until we are ready to go to construction. And and as far as the lighting is not part of the scope of this project. I want to clarify something earlier about the address of the property. We always like to say that during plan development, anything is possible, anything could change. And that's why this is based on preliminary engineering. This is not based on fully developed right-of-way acquisition plan. So, anything can change. But based on the preliminary alignment we have and so forth, it appears that the impact to that property that was questioned will be enough that we believe that an appraiser will deem it to be that it would be damaged enough in a way that we would have to acquire.
Next question is, that was an interesting answer to the question about the road from West Run to Baker's Ridge. For those of us who have lived on Vanhooris Road for 30 years or more, we have seen many projects. We put up with the horrendous conditions for a year and a month at Vanhooris. Somehow the back end of Vanhooris got paved with the promise to do the section from West Run to Baker's Ridge the following year. The section in question was supposed to have been paved 3 years ago or more. It is horrible in the winter. What project will this paving job be attached to?
Okay, that's the question. The paving is the maintenance, and the paving is under the jurisdiction of District 4, which is responsible for this area. We will get some clarification from the district. We get answer to see when is the next scheduled paving for the next section would be. But it's not part of this project that we are evaluating the NEPA for.
We're going to have another live presentation at 6 o'clock if you guys want to stick around. We'll be going back through our slideshow presentation, and then we'll allow for you guys to have more comments after that presentation.
Next question. First, thank you for providing time to comment and ask questions on the great set of plans you have produced. Has it been considered to take the driveway for the single home and tie it into Clearview Street to eliminate unnecessary additional intersection along Vanhooris?
That's not something that we have looked at. We will have to evaluate that further to see if that is possible.
Will project updates and changes be published on this site? If not, where will they be published? Yes, any kind of new documents that will be published will be on our transportation.gov site. Next question, could the city and county help pay for the upgrades?
We will never turn any funding somebody want to share with us, but currently there is no other funding coming from city or county.
Regarding the property on Vanhooris being taken, is it on the left side of the road or the right side coming up the hill from BB&T?
That property is on the right on Hurston Village side. As Gerard noted, that's a preliminary assessment.
The intersection with 705 is not aligned. Your plan is to shift this west, increases the opposite. Why are you not moving the road east to help with the intersection alignment instead of adding lanes west, which will exacerbate the misalignment?
We're proposing to add a lane to improve traffic flow as noted. This is a low-speed urban environment, and the intersection is quite wide, and the lanes will be aligned with pavement markings. This is not uncommon in an urban area to add capacity in this manner and to avoid major impacts to existing residents and businesses.
Okay. Right now, we're going to start the next meeting at 6 o'clock, the next live presentation. But I want to thank everybody that hopped on and thank everybody for the positive comments. Thanks, Bill Austin, for hopping on. Also, Andrew, we appreciate your comment. And Leonard, thank you for all of your comments that you provided for us. Thanks. My name is Mark Collins with the Division of Highways. Welcome to the Vanhooris Road Improvement Project virtual public meeting. This project is part of Governor Justice Roads to Prosperity program. The DOH would like to thank our partners, the City of Morgantown, Monongalia County, Morgantown Monongalia Metropolitan Planning Organization, and the Federal Highway Administration. This evening, we will have live presentations at 6 and 7. Some ground rules for tonight's meeting are as follows. The West Virginia Department of Transportation recognizes the value of public comments on their projects and community issues in the area surrounding those projects. To permit the fair and orderly expression of such comments, a period for public participation will be provided during public meetings, and rules to govern such participation will be provided. The moderator of the meeting shall administer the rules of public participation. These guidelines are discussed below. Please take a moment to read the information before the meeting begins. This meeting will be recorded. At the beginning of the meeting, all attendees will be muted and will remain muted. After the presentation has concluded, there will be a question and answer period. Please submit comments and questions by one of the following methods. Use the chat window to type your question or comment, text your question or comment, or call 855-925-2801, code 9356. Note, all comments, no matter how you submit them, carry equal weight, and no matter how they are submitted. Please keep comments relevant to the project for which the meeting is being held. Please keep comments and concerns as specific as possible. West Virginia DOT and/or their associate representatives will respond to each comment and question. However, we reserve the right to respond to questions in writing following the meeting if there is either not adequate time to answer or if information must be gathered, adequately respond. Once all comments and questions have been presented, the moderator will ask if anyone else has any comments or questions. If desired, you may follow up on verbal comments in writing. This is not a requirement and will not provide the verbal comments additional weight. Conduct during the meeting. Participants must be respectful and considerate of the opinions of others. Participants must consider of the time allocated for others to speak. Demeaning, derogatory, inflammatory, or vulgar language or actions will not be permitted. During the time of the meeting, if there's a period of silence, that is when we are trying to retrieve your question. Persons attending the meeting who are hearing or visually impaired and have special requirements or a condition that requires special assistance or accommodation should contact one of the meeting coordinators as soon as possible. Advance notice is necessary for us to make arrangements to accommodate these special needs. Tonight, there will be several ways to comment on the project. As you can see on the screen, online, on our live event tonight, or you can also mail in comments. The comment period is open until September 10th, 2020. Everything on our website you will be able to look at tonight and continue to look at until September the 10th. We will start tonight with Tim Kirk and Brian Bernstein of AMT Engineering on project limits and details.
Thank you very much, Sandra, and good evening, everyone. We're happy tonight to present an overview of the Vanhooris Road Improvement Project from Route 705 to south of West Run Road. So the purpose of this project is to improve the infrastructure of Vanhooris Road. This roadway is prone to recurring traffic congestion. The lanes are very narrow. There's deficient roadway geometry in many places. There's limited pedestrian accommodation and infrastructure, and limited drainage as you get further from Route 705. So as noted, the project limits extend from Route 705 to just south of West Run Road. There was a design study prepared in advance of this project from Route 705 to Baker's Ridge Road. And in that study, the proposed improvements were identified. They primarily consist of intersection improvement and geometric improvement throughout the corridor. As we'll note throughout the presentation, there are significant challenges and obstacles to improving this roadway. They include terrain, existing development that is very close to the roadway, numerous utilities, and a high traffic volume that makes maintenance of traffic during construction a challenge as well. So the improvements that we're discussing as part of this plan include intersection improvements at West Virginia 705 and pedestrian accommodation, extension of the sidewalk to Southview Drive, improvement of the Southview Drive and Clearview Avenue approaches. They're very steep, so this is making that approach more traversable as you enter Vanhooris Road. Major part of this project is going to be geometric improvement of the curve at Wedgwood Drive and Hirschman Village. We're proposing a retaining wall to limit our impact to a sensitive wetland area and also to add paved shoulders and wider lanes throughout. And at the northern terminus of the project, we're proposing replacement of the existing bridge over West Run. And now Brian is going to tell you about the environmental process for this project.
Thanks, Tim. As part of this roadway project, West Virginia Division of Highways analyzes the potential effects the project may have on natural, cultural, socioeconomic, or sometimes referred to community resources. To evaluate potential effects, a study referred to as a category exclusion will be conducted as required under the National Environmental Policy Act, also referred to as NEPA. The category exclusion is conducted for those projects, including Vanhooris, that typically have minimal effects overall. The resources listed below are many of the natural, cultural resource, and socioeconomic resources considered as part of the project. All effects considered as part of the study of the project are evaluated under the design phase as well. I'll highlight just a few examples of each of the natural, cultural, and socioeconomic resources. For natural, as we have listed here, wetlands, rare, threatened, endangered species, and wildlife. Cultural resources typically refer to either historic structures or archaeological resources. And community or socioeconomic resources is referring to communities as well as residential and commercial displacements. In this graphic here, which will be in the category exclusion, you can see in the middle column, the no build represents no action, no proposed action currently, whereas the third column, the build alternative, is in comparison to that. And you can see that there are two areas where there are some slight or minimal impacts. The first one is residential and commercial displacements, and the second one, is wetlands and stream encroachment. At the bottom, I'd also draw attention to the project cost. With that, I'll turn it back to Tim.
Thanks, Brian. So now we want to talk a little bit about the specific improvements that are included within this proposed plan. As noted, we're proposing improvements at the intersection of West Virginia 705. This includes widening Vanhooris Road by an additional lane from Killarney Drive to Route 705. This is on the side opposite of BB&T. And this is being done to improve the intersection capacity, which will reduce delay, allow more traffic to get through the intersection on the same amount of green time. We're also adding pedestrian enhancement to the intersection, including a larger refuge island and relocation of the pedestrian crossing. And also the traffic signal will be renovated. As you can see in this aerial graphic of the proposed intersection, the refuge island is about doubled in size, and this will require West Virginia 705 eastbound traffic to utilize the rightmost lane. The majority of traffic is already using this lane, and our analysis shows that this improves the operation of the intersection. You can also see the relocated pedestrian paths and the widening on Vanhooris Road. Along with improvement at 705, we're also adding pedestrian accommodation at other locations within the project. As noted, the sidewalk is being extended and replaced on the left side of the road going north to Southview Drive. Beyond that point where the road gets very steep, we are adding paved shoulders 4 to 5 feet in width throughout. The paved shoulders also have been shown to reduce the occurrence of run off the road crashes. Drainage improvement is being implemented throughout the existing project. Some drainage improvement has been implemented in recent years. This is being extended north. Additional inlets are being added to collect additional runoff from the roadway and the travel lanes. Existing ditches that have eroded are being closed and pipes added in places. And where ditches remain, they're being armored with rock to avoid steep erosion in future years. And also, this is all being done to get the water out of the roadway to improve safety as well. So there are two approaches, Southview Drive and Clearview, that have very steep approaches. So we are softening that approach to reduce the occurrence of motorists dragging when they enter the roadway. And this also aids pedestrian accommodation by having a flatter roadside through both intersections. Those were pictures of Southview Drive, and this is an aerial of Clearview Drive. So one of the major components of this plan is significant improvement of the curve at Wedgewood Drive in Hirschman Village. Right now, it's a very sharp horizontal curve with steep vertical grades on both sides. There's a pattern of rear-end crashes northbound for traffic, making the left turn to Wedgewood Drive. And again, we have those narrow lanes. All of these issues combined limit sight distance, both on Vanhooris Road and at the side street approaches. So what we're proposing to do, this is a plan sheet of the project, is relocate the curve to the inside, reduce the vertical grade to the limit we can and still maintain traffic through construction, improve those side street approaches. So some of the side streets may be modified both in their alignment and their grade as they approach. The combined impact of all these improvements is shown here in this rendering of what the curve is proposed to look like post-construction. So this shows the improved horizontal radius, the improved vertical grade, better sight distance, definitely on Vanhooris and the side streets, along with the turn lane and paved shoulders throughout. I mentioned the paved shoulders. Those are being implemented for a variety of reasons. They have been shown to improve safety, and they do provide space for other road users. Near the northern terminus of the project, there's an existing bridge over West Run. It's very low in elevation and flood prone. It's also very narrow. So it is proposed that this bridge be replaced with a long-term durable bridge that will be wide enough for 3 lanes in the future as needed, be raised in grade so it's not overtopped as often, and also will provide safer and wider shoulders for the existing condition. To implement all of these improvements, and again, this is a preliminary plan, it's anticipated that a number of temporary construction easements will be needed. Also, a number of roadway frontage will be needed to construct these improvements. And based on this preliminary plan, one residence is anticipated to be impacted by the alignment, and it's shown there on the plan sketch, and that is at the intersection of Hirschman Village, directly across from Wedgewood Drive. The plans are available for review. There's a link from the site and also from the Division of Highways. And with that, I will turn it over to Sandra.
Thanks, Tim and Brian. As you'll see on your slides here tonight, we need your comments on this project. Remember, there are several ways to do that: voicemail, text, online, and by mail. All of the things that you're seeing tonight on here will be open for view on our website until September the 10th is when the comment period ends. At this time, we'll take your questions that you may have. So please get those submitted to us. And like I said before, if you hear a call, that's just us trying to get to the question. Okay, one of the questions that came in, it says there's lots of traffic turning both left and right on Vanhooris, Southview and Clearview. Does this project facilitate that movement in any way? Then also they came back in and said turning on Vanhooris and Killarney and Southview and Clearview.
Well, obviously, there's a lot of traffic on Vanhooris Road, and it can be very difficult to enter. I understand the commenter's point there. We are in collaboration with the city of Morgantown, our partner in this project, and looking at those issues. So we will revisit that issue with their feedback.
Also, if anybody would like copies of the plans or the PowerPoint presentation that we just gave, if you go to the right-hand side page to the bottom after the schedule, there's a document section, and you can just click on those PDFs and download them. And that's the live storyboard that's on the second tab. It's the plans, It's actually the full set of plans and the PowerPoint presentation. You can get all that information right there.
Next question, what is the status of the first phase from West Run to Baker's Ridge? I am the first house in the Willowick subdivision and the one most impacted by the widening. I want to do a massive house remodel, but not if you are going to tear my house down in a year or two. Please update.
Our general stand is we never ever want to put anybody's life on hold. So please make any improvement, go on living, because currently we really don't have any funding. We don't have a schedule for the next phase. So I cannot tell you, we can encourage you to do whatever you need to do to your house and keep on moving. If anything ever happen down the road and any properties need to be acquired, we'll pay fair market value at that time, whenever the time comes.
Next question, will there be a dedicated website available after September 10th to allow citizens to review any changes or progress? The answer to that is no. But you will be able to go on to transportation.wv.gov under the project comment here, or under the project comments, and we will publish our category exclusion on our website. So you will be able to review that. Another question that came in, have you considered frontage roads along the left side of the road to deal with driveways and control access?
We did review the driveways to see if there was any access management we could implement, but keep in mind this is a urban environment. There's no controlled access right away. Properties are very close together. So we did look at where we could modify driveways or combine driveways, but it's really not feasible to construct a frontage road in this type of environment.
Okay, I'm going to do the one where were dedicated right and left turn lanes along Vanhooris considered? Were dedicated right and left turn lanes along Vanhooris considered at the District Drive intersection? I have seen many near collisions as people go up and down the hill.
Turn lanes were evaluated throughout the project. The ones that are currently in the plan were based on traffic volume and crash data, and geometry, site distance, whatnot. A lot goes into that decision process. And keep in mind, some of these are private approaches, and it's difficult for the Division of Highways to provide turn lanes for every private approach.
Okay, another question. At the 705 intersection, how are you going to get the extra lanes in the same space?
Those are full width lanes on that approach, and it's a very wide intersection, so there is space to transition. There is a little shift, and there'll be pavement markings that align all those lanes together. Fairly common in an urban environment to implement capacity improvements in this manner.
Okay. Another question on here. What is the timeline, design, engineering, and construction? Right now, we have a construction date of June 28, 2023. And that's always a tentative date. You know, that's always subject to change. Right now, we're going to show you the Vanhooris Road storyboard. And this is actually going to show you a drone footage of Vanhooris Road from 705 to the south of West Run Road.
So what you're looking at is a drone video that started at Route 705 and is heading north up the grade. We just passed Killarney Drive, and now the video is approaching Southview Drive.
And if you think of any comments or questions while you're watching this video, you can text us, call us, email us, and we would be happy to answer any questions you have about the project.
So now we're passing Clearview Drive, and this is near the end of the Morgantown municipal boundary. And now you're looking at the Wedgewood curve at Hirschman Village. Wedgewood is on your left, Hirschman Village is on your right. And the Morgantown Rehab driveway is immediately north on the left of Wedgewood. The retaining wall that we mentioned is in this area on the right to avoid impact of a wetland area. And a minor safety improvement would be implemented. You see a passing zone there. That passing zone will be removed in the final project. District Drive is on your right, approaching the curve. Linwood Drive was on our left, the other large apartment complex we just passed. And now we're approaching the bridge over West Run that we replaced. Also, the geometry on approach there, the vertical profile is being improved as part of the bridge replacement. There will be a temporary bridge during construction on the right side going north. So the temporary bridge will tie in about the end of the canopy for the old gas station. And then in this area, we transition to the end of the project, the end of section 1, and the beginning of future section 2.
We will be having another presentation at 7 o'clock. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and submit those now, and we'd be more than happy to answer them.
What will be the proposed construction hours? If this is published when finalized, residents will be able to plan for the detours. Thanks.
Again, these plans are still preliminary. At this time, we believe the best course of action is to most likely do this work during off-peak evening hours. We will evaluate that where possible. The temporary bridge for the West Run replacement is being done so that we can maintain 2 lanes throughout. And, our goal is to minimize those traffic disruptions to the extent feasible.
Okay. The next question is, will the constant right turn green arrow from Vanhooris to 705 turn to red to allow exclusive crossing for pedestrians?
Yes, we definitely want to improve the pedestrian crossing at that location. Along with that, there's actually a blank out sign that will enforce the no turn on red during the pedestrian phase. So all motorists should stop during that phase. They're actually supposed to now.
Another question that's come in is there any possibility of extending the sidewalk further up Vanhooris? If not, why was the termination at Southview chosen?
The termination at Southview was chosen based on that is where the road begins to get very steep, and it becomes extremely difficult to build a sidewalk that meets federal ADA and the PROAG guidelines.
Is this project fully funded in its present form? Yes, it is. Section 1 of the project, not 2. All right, here's a comment that came in. We appreciate it a lot. Thank you for your very informative and interactive presentation. The PowerPoint has great renderings of the proposed project. Looks like an excellent project. Thanks to all of you for your hard work and now in the future. Thank you so much. For anybody new that's hopped on to view the Vanhooris public meeting information, we will be doing our last presentation starting at 7 o'clock. Thanks. Another comment that came in, we appreciate all the good comments. This presentation provided an excellent overview of the project and allowed for good interaction with the DOH and consultants. We really appreciate that because in the time of COVID here and trying to go away from our norm of being face-to-face with the public, we really appreciate that comment. Thanks. Okay, we had a question that came in and it says, can we request a public in-person meeting on this project? This format is insufficient to properly communicate and plan. Also, please let me know how I may access to a recorded archive of this presentation. If you would like to have an in-person meeting like that, please submit a formal written comment and with your information, your phone number, and our project manager will get back to you on that. Good evening. My name is Sandra Mullins with the Division of Highways. Welcome to the Vanhooris Road Informational Project Virtual Public Meeting. This project is part of Governor Justice Roads to Prosperity program. The West Virginia DOH would like to thank our partners, the City of Morgantown, Monongalia County, Morgantown-Monongalia Metropolitan Planning Organization, and the Federal Highway Administration. This evening, this is our last live presentation of the evening. We had two other ones at 5 and at 6. And some ground rules for tonight's meeting are as follows. The West Virginia Department of Transportation recognizes the value of public comments on their projects and community issues in the area surrounding those projects. To permit and the fair and orderly expression of such comments, a period of public participation will be provided during public meetings, and rules to govern such participation will be provided. The moderator of the meeting shall administer the rules of public participation. These guidelines are discussed below. Please take a moment to read this information before the meeting begins. This meeting will be recorded. At the beginning of the meeting, all attendees will be muted and will remain muted. After the presentation has concluded, there will be a question and answer period. Please submit comments and questions by one of the following methods. Use the chat window at the top of your question or comment, text your comment or question, or call 855-925-2801 and use code 9356. Note, all comments carry equal weight, no matter how they are submitted. Please keep comments relevant to the project for which the meeting is being held. Please keep comments/concerns as specific as possible. The West Virginia DOT and/or their associate representatives will respond to each comment or question. However, we reserve the right to respond to questions in writing following the meeting if there is either not adequate time to answer or if information must be gathered to adequately respond. Once all comments or questions have been presented, the moderator will ask if anyone has any comments or questions. If desired, you may follow up on verbal comments in writing. This is not a requirement and will not provide the verbal comments additional weight. Conduct. Participants must be respectful and considerate of the opinions of others. Participation must be considered of time allocated for others to speak. Demeaning, derogatory, or inflammatory or vulgar language or actions will not be permitted. Persons attending the meeting who are hearing or visually impaired or have special requirements or conditions that require special assistance or accommodation should contact one of the meeting coordinators as soon as possible. Advance notice is necessary for us to make arrangements to accommodate these special needs. As you see on the screen, we have several ways to comment. Please leave your comment tonight, either online, during our live event, or you can mail in your comment. All comments will be taken until September 10th. We will start tonight with Tim Kirk and Brian Bernstein of AMT Engineering on project limits and details.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Good evening, everyone. Very pleased to be here tonight to present the overview for the Vanhooris Road improvements, proposed improvements from Route 705 to West Run Road, the Section 1. So the purpose of this project is to improve the infrastructure of Vanhooris Road from 705 to West Run Road. The existing alignment is prone to recurring traffic congestion, predominantly at Route 705. The lanes are very narrow. There's deficient roadway in several locations. There's limited pedestrian accommodation, and there are drainage issues throughout the project. So as noted, the project limits for this section of the project are from 705 to West Run Road. A previous design study was performed from 705 to Baker's Ridge that developed the improvements that are in this proposed plan. They predominantly include intersection improvements and geometric improvements. There are significant challenges and obstacles within this corridor. It's a very developed urban corridor with steep terrain and development hugging the roadway with lots of utilities and a high traffic volume that makes the traffic a challenge. So the improvements that we're going to discuss tonight are shown here. So the first improvement going south to north is improvements at the West Virginia 705 intersection, includes widening on Vanhooris Road. We're also proposing sidewalk extension to Southview Drive, side street improvement, vertical geometric improvement on Southview Drive and Clearview Avenue, improvement of the geometry at the Wedgewood Drive Hirschman Village curve. We are adding retaining walls to reduce our impact to a wetland area, and this is being done throughout the project to implement paved shoulders and wider lanes. And also in the northern end, we're proposing replacement of the existing bridge over West Rock. And now Brian is going to talk about the NEPA process for this project.
Thank you, Tim. As part of the Vanhooris project, West Virginia Division of Highways has been analyzing the potential effects the project may have on natural resources, cultural resources, and socioeconomic, sometimes referred to as community resources. To evaluate potential effects, a study referred to as a category exclusion is being conducted as required under the National Environmental Policy Act, also known as NEPA. The category exclusion is conducted for those projects, including Vanhooris, that typically have minimal effects overall. The resources listed below are many of the natural, cultural, and socioeconomic resources considered as part of the project. All effects are considered as part of the project design efforts. So I'm just going to highlight a couple here that you see below. Common natural resource effects that we would look at include wetlands, rare, threatened, endangered species, and wildlife, whereas cultural resources includes things such as historic buildings and archaeological resources. Lastly, community or socioeconomic effects include community effects, including residential and business development displacements, which Tim will get into in a few minutes. This graphic will be included in the category exclusion. If you look at the middle column, the no build alternative, those are the effects that would be if there were no actions in design efforts currently. The build alternative is the one we're looking at today. And you can see that there's two areas that would have minimal impacts. The first is residential or effects. The first is residential or commercial displacements. The other one are wetlands and streams encroachment. I'll also draw your attention to the bottom of the graphic or the table that shows the project costs. With that, I'll turn it back to Tim.
All right, thank you very much, Brian. So one of the first improvements that we want to talk about are the improvements at the intersection with Route 705. You can see the rendering there showing the proposed and the existing, the widening on the southbound approach to 705. We're proposing to add an additional through lane to the right that will increase the capacity of this approach and reduce the recurring congestion on this approach, help the intersection operate much more efficiently. We're also proposing pedestrian improvements in the intersection, both signalized improvements and geometric improvements. We're adding a raised island that will serve as a refuge island for pedestrians, and will also relocate the pedestrian crosswalks to reduce the pedestrian crossing distance. The exclusive pedestrian phase will remain and will be enhanced with a no turn on red blank out sign to further protect pedestrians. The lane configuration on the 705 eastbound approach will be modified so that all right turning traffic will use the right turn lane. We have prepared traffic models for this, and it shows that it improves traffic flow and eliminates the conflict for the through lane to Vanhooris Road. The lanes will be marked, of course, and the mild shift through the intersection will be cared for with additional pavement markings. Pedestrian accommodation is important in this area. There's a lot of students and pedestrians that use this roadway. We're proposing to extend the sidewalk and renovate the existing sidewalk all the way to Southview Drive on the left going north. And also throughout the limits of the project, add paved shoulders to reduce the occurrence of run off the road collisions and create a wider roadway for all road users. So throughout the project, drainage improvements are going to be implemented. Drainage improvement was made on the very southern end in a previous project. Now we're extending that all the way through. We're adding additional inlets to collect more runoff from the roadway and the travel lanes. We're closing and piping some of the ditches that are very eroded, as you see the picture up top. The picture on the bottom shows an example treatment from another project. We'll also line the ditches with rock to prevent further erosion and keep that situation from occurring at other locations. We'll also improve the approach of some of the side roads, both Southview Drive, as shown in this picture, where motorists drag the road trying to make a turn to enter because of the steep difference between the approach roadway and Vanhooris. This will also create a more walkable path for pedestrians. And also at Clearview Avenue, the same treatment will be implemented to make it easier for motorists to enter the roadway. One of the major improvements in this project is the improvement of the Wedgwood curve, Hirschman Village across the road. It's a very sharp horizontal curve with steep vertical grades on approach. And there is a pattern of rear end crashes that have been identified for motorists trying to make a left turn to Wedgwood due to the geometry and limited sight distance. The roadway is also very narrow. So all of these issues combined result in limited sight distance throughout this area, both on the main line and on the side street approaches, as you see here. So what we're proposing to do, this is the plan sheet of the improvement, is relocate the curve to the inside towards the Hirschman Village side, and also drop the vertical grade of the roadway and improve the roadways as they intersect with Vanhooris Road. This shows a rendering of what the improved roadway will look like with the turn lane, with the modified horizontal and vertical geometry, and the improved side roads, along with the paved shoulders. So I mentioned the paved shoulders a couple times, and this is a treatment that we're proposing to carry throughout. Those shoulders will be 4 to 5 feet in width, depending on location. And again, that is done for multiple reasons, but accommodates other road users and also reduces the occurrence of run off the road crashes. So there's an existing bridge near the northern end of the project over West Run Stream. It's very low in elevation and it's often overtopped with flood events. It's also very narrow. So we're proposing to replace that with a long-term durable bridge that will be higher in elevation to minimize flood overtopping. Also will include shoulders to improve safety. And also it's being developed so that it will be wide enough for future widening when that is necessary. Now, to implement all of these improvements, there is anticipated to be right-of-way impacts. Based on our preliminary plan thus far, there will be a number of temporary construction easements, and then also land immediately adjacent to the roadway may be needed to implement the widening. And based on our preliminary plan, and as shown in the excerpt from the plan sheet, there is one property that we believe is likely to be a take based on the preliminary plans, and that is the residence at the corner of Hirschman Village and Vanhooris on the opposite side from Wedgwood Road. Plans are available. There's a link in the public meeting site, and also Division of Highways can make those available as well. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Sandra.
Thanks, Tim, Brian, for your presentation. As you can see up there, these are our comment procedures. Please get online and comment. It will be open till September the 10th. You can do a voicemail, text, online, or by mail. And we are here tonight till 8 o'clock to answer any questions that you may have. Also, once the environmental clearance document has been approved, we will update that on our website so that you can go, and if any questions that we did not get to tonight, we will address those in the NEPA document. So go ahead and get your questions in and we'll be glad to answer them. Okay, we've got some questions coming in. The first question is, what is the cost to construct a right turn lane from Vanhooris Road to Burr Street?
We really don't have the breakdown of pieces of the project. I mean, we can get that for you if you want to send us a separate or private message or leave your email address on this, we'll be more than happy. But currently, right now, we don't have that cost broken down.
Okay. Next question. We thought we heard that it was mentioned in the opening statements that this project included the West Run to Baker's Ridge project. Does this mean that the West Run to Baker's Ridge project has been modified or replaced with this project? Thanks for your efforts on what seems to be a vast improvement to the roadway.
Well, sorry for any confusion, or if we led you to believe that the second, what we call the second phase, which is from West Run to Baker's Ridge, this project we are talking about, the NEPA's 4, is the first phase or the first section of Vanhooris upgrade, which starts at the intersection of 705 and it ends at West Run. We are not going beyond West Run. There is no funding and we don't have the NEPA done for that. The current project again starts at intersection of 705 and it ends at the intersection of Vanhooris and West Run Broadway.
Another question came in is when is construction planned to begin and how long will the project take? Construction is to begin June 28, 2023.
This is, yes, is true. The current schedule, we always say, we like to say it's set in stone from the fact that funding is available and the project is a go. But, with the NEPA process, with the right-of-way acquisition, with COVID, with so many unknowns, that schedule could slide. I mean, we don't have any intention of that, but, nothing is set in concrete when it comes to other factors. And as far as the duration of the construction project, I would say based on once all right-of-way is acquired and the project is ready to be advertised, let and awarded, barring again any out of control things, a project like this would normally, if we let it early in the year, we can finish it in one construction season. Generally, our construction season starts from April until the end of November. Basically, that excludes winter shutdown, which is December through the end of March, early April.
Next question. Thank you for hosting this meeting. I appreciate the thorough electronic project materials. All of the recent DOH sponsored and funded bicycle and pedestrian studies have noted that excessive lane widths are unnecessary and lead to higher travel speeds. They recommend 10 to 11 feet lane width. What average lane width do you propose throughout this corridor?
The lanes are proposed to be 10 feet in this project.
Next question, will there be useful lane signage for bicyclists? Will there be climbing lanes for bicyclists?
There's not currently proposed signage for cyclists in this project, nor is there any requirement for that. And, you know, cyclists are a vehicle allowed to use the road just like any other road user. You know, we are proposing to add paved shoulders throughout that do improve the safety for all road users.
Next question. The businesses along Vanhooris close to the 705 intersection cannot be expected to have northbound traffic hold up the only northbound lane. Northbound lane and turn left across 3 lanes of southbound traffic. What is the reasoning not to have a center turn lane here?
There's a couple parts to that question there. We are still evaluating the driveways and the access management modifications through that area, and that's yet to be finalized. And as far as the center turn lane, that is something that we could do, but the queue of traffic is so long from 705 that it's really best that widening be accommodated for southbound traffic at this point, at that location.
We just wanted to point out, as you can see on the screen right now, this is the actual public meeting website. And if you go all the way down to the bottom on the right hand where it says documents, you can download all of these. This is a project overview map. This is the information that we handed out in the 2019 public meeting. And then this is the set of plans that was referred to during the presentation. And then this is the actual presentation that you saw. So all of that information is available here. And we also have the YouTube video of the drone footage is also available at this link.
There's somebody distracting us.
Explain the reasoning behind the lack of formal pedestrian facilities between Southview and West Run, particularly between Southview and Wedgewood.
At Southview, the grade of the road starts to get very steep, and it gets very difficult to build a sidewalk per federal ADA law and PROAG guidelines. So it becomes almost impossible to do so. So that's why the sidewalk was ended at that location.
Next question. Have you considered using the lateral space devoted to paved shoulders and devoting that to the grade separated multi-use path? If so, why did that not become the preferred final design? If not, would this be at all feasible to consider? Why or why not?
So a shared use path like that would take a bigger footprint, have a larger impact. And the paved shoulders also have very tangible benefit for everybody. So that's really not part of the scope of this project.
Next questions. Where will the new sidewalk end and how wide will the new sidewalk be?
The sidewalk is proposed to end at Southview Drive and it will be 5 feet wide.
Next question. The sidewalk is much needed addition and greatly appreciated. However, a lot of the student housing is located past Southview Drive. Are there any future plans to extend the sidewalk?
Again, it's not part of the scope of this project, and we are unable, for what was mentioned earlier, because to accommodate ADA, to accommodate the federal guidelines and the federal requirements, the sidewalk would not be able to follow the horizontal and vertical geometry of the roadway because of the steep grades. For us to maintain a sidewalk accommodation, to accommodate the ADA, we would have to deviate from the line and grade of the roadway, meaning we would have to separate it. That means a bigger footprint, a totally different environmental NEPA requirement. And again, the cost will be much higher. And also, I'm really not sure if we can condemn or use the eminent domain to put sidewalk if we deviate from the footprint of the roadway. That's something we can revisit down the road with our partners, the city, the county, and other stakeholders to see what other possibility. There are grants they can apply to. By federal government, we have our planning division that we can help them in applying for these grants. But that's something I would think it would have to be funded totally different and looked at approach outside the scope of this project.
Next question. There's often major drainage that comes down the hill by the Golden Living Center and across the road. This often causes potholes. Will there be drainage issues fixed in that area as well?
Yes, there's drainage improvements throughout and specific to that area as well.
Is there an alternate ingress plan for Advantage Health and Wellness for during construction and after the project is done? Is that likely if there is no plan currently?
All access to properties will be maintained throughout the project. That's the same for all DOH projects. And, access to all parcels will be maintained after construction is complete.
Okay, go ahead, Drew. The comment was made that this is the first phase. I am curious of what the future phases will address. From the river to the mouth of Vanhooris Road, the traffic volume is unbelievable. This was a pretty quiet country road not too many years ago. I have heard talk about I-79 being routed through our community. I and many others won't be able to get in and out of our driveways. If anyone has the knowledge, is all this phase one work in preparation for the future phase that includes this event?
When we reference phase one, we're talking strictly about Vanhooris Road upgrade. As you all know, our district in Clarksburg did improvement for several hundred feet in the area a few years ago. And now a few years later, we are doing this. There's probably, what I said earlier, we're gonna check to see if the district is doing any paving, which is part of their responsibility. This has nothing to do with I-79. This is not preparation for I-79. These are improvement needed. And as Sandra mentioned early on, this is part of the governor's Road to Prosperity program, that this part of the safety, the lanes are narrow, there are no shoulder, there are no sidewalks, drainage is not up to current standards. So this is part of what we call upgrade and improvement to enhance safety, improve mobility, so people can get in and out of the area safely and efficiently.
Next question. How can a new right turn lane from Vanhooris Road to Burr Street also be a through lane for traffic on Vanhooris Road without additional widening on Route 705?
There will be a lane shift with this, and there will be pavement markings that are not shown on this rendering that will align those lanes. Again, this is a low-speed urban environment, and that's fairly common in some intersections to improve capacity. It's a very wide intersection, so in reality, there's a pretty long space, a long distance to make that shift.
Next question, can you describe the chosen turning radii you're using for such at all corners of the Vanhooris, Burroughs, and 705 intersection?
Sure. Really, the only radii that's being modified is the one from Vanhooris to Burroughs Street. And again, these plans are preliminary, but it's based on AASHTO standards for the design of that radius.
Next question. I realize the slope is too steep to continue the sidewalk past Wedgewood Drive. People walk up and down the narrow road all the time now. Is it possible to have enough room to designate a pedestrian strip going up and down the sides of the road? Many people walk in a very dangerous place every day to get to town and back. It is frightening to watch.
We can appreciate the comment and the numerous questions we are getting with regard to pedestrian accommodation, and really we appreciate that. As a policy of highway department, anytime we do any upgrade to any road, any bridge, new road or existing road, our policy is to accommodate road users, bicyclists, pedestrians, any way, shape, or form. We are committed to that as a highway department. However, there are limitations on the topography of our state, the limits we have on adding footprints and so forth. Currently, we stopped the sidewalk where we thought it's feasible based on the footprint, based on cost, based on the topography of the area, grade-wise, and so forth. We will go back and reevaluate this. We look with our partners to see if there are other options that can be looked at or studied beyond the scope of this project. And we will always make sure that we will try to accommodate all road users, regardless of whether they are bicyclists, pedestrians, or motorists, in the most safe, efficient, and economic way without affecting the people who are adjacent to the roadway impact-wise.
Okay, next question. Would you consider a hard curb rather than paved shoulders as a means to reduce road departure crashes?
Based on the highway safety manual, a 4-foot shoulder, a 5-foot shoulder is shown to have a very significant crash modification factor. So I really think that the safest for the motorist is to have the paved shoulder.
Okay, we got time for like one last question here. What is a CMF for paved shoulders as a bike ped treatment in comparison to a shared use path or similar alternate treatment?
On paved shoulder, you can go down at what we call a curb and gutter pan, which is 2 foot wide. In this case, we are proposing 4 foot wide shoulder. The wider, the better, obviously. It's a balancing act between what impacts we do to adjacent properties and the safety. As far as the shared use path, we've done that as well. The minimum we've done is really 8, but it's strongly recommended to be a minimum of 10 feet so it can accommodate multiple users, mainly bicyclists and pedestrians. So for that, for it to be a true shared use path, we would recommend, or we wouldn't go below 8 feet as a minimum, but recommend would be a 10 feet.
We'd like to thank everybody for coming out this evening. Everyone that's been on the call, everyone that has commented. We'd like to thank all of our partners. We've noticed several of you online asking questions, and we really appreciate that. If you have any other comments that you would like to submit, we will take comments up until September the 10th. On the many ways that we've showed you tonight, go to our website and you can comment on the project. If you have any last minute questions, we'll be here till 8 o'clock. So, but I remind you, go out there and put your comments in writing and get those to us. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody that came out this evening and with our first virtual public meeting. And this concludes our meeting for tonight. Thanks, everybody.